Hi guys, today we will create a shadow dome which allows us to create hidden dome trees in our regular dome. So let's create it so that we can see the power of using a shadow dome. So I have created a test file. Let's create a sample HTML. We can create a div. Under this div we can add a span. This is some text in a span. Let's add a style. We can make the color of this span as blue. Let's add a script as well. Let's add a event listener on this span so that when span is clicked we get a alert. Span dot add event listener. We want to add click event listener. Let's alert span clicked. Let's save it and let's see this file in the browser. And if we refresh, and here we can see this is some text in a span. This text appears in blue color, and if we click on it and we can see the event is triggered, span clicked. Now let's create another sample HTML. Again we can create a div and we can add a span. This is a new span. We can add a style as well. Let's add span color as red. Now we have this another sample HTML. Suppose this is a third-party library HTML that you are adding to your main HTML file. So let's copy this and paste it in our main HTML. We have pasted it. Let's save it. Now if we go to the browser, this is our previous output, and if we refresh, here you can see our old text color has also been changed. And if we click on the first span, we can see the span clicked event is triggered. But if we click on the second span, which appeared from the HTML which we just pasted, and again we see the span clicked event is triggered. So if we see the HTML, the style which we just pasted overrides the style of the original HTML, and this span clicked event is being triggered on both these spans. How can we isolate this particular HTML so that it does not affect our main HTML and is also not being affected by our main HTML's styles or scripts? So here comes Shadow DOM. So we can use Shadow DOM when we want to insert some dynamic HTML content into an application and want to make sure that no styles or functionality collides. Before creating the Shadow DOM, let's see the structure of our existing DOM. And here we can see we have a div with the main class, and under this div we have a span, and we have another div with the library which we pasted, and here we can see under this we have a span. Now let's create Shadow DOM. To create a Shadow DOM, we have to add a template tag here. and let's wrap this in a template tag, and we have to add a attribute shadow root mode is equal to open. And now if we refresh, and here we can see this HTML is being converted to shadow DOM, and you can see this is shadow root, and under this we have span and this style, and you can see the original span color is again changed to blue color, and if we click on that we get an event as span clicked, and if we click on the second span we do not get any event. So which is what we wanted, that this HTML should not affect the main HTML and should not being affected by our main HTML as well. So how do we add a event to the shadow DOM element? To do this, we have to write document dot query selector, and here we have to write the shadow DOM container, which is library class in our case, and shadow root dot query selector span dot add event listener. So we are adding a click event, and we can add a alert here, span clicked in shadow DOM. Now let's refresh, and now if we click on the first span we get span clicked, and if we click on the second span we get the shadow DOM event, which is span clicked in shadow DOM. So the other thing is, here we have added shadow root mode as open. So if we use shadow root mode as open, we can access the elements of this shadow DOM, but if we make it closed, now they will not be accessible, so this event will not work. Let's see this. If we refresh this, now if we click on this span, you can see we are not able to read this span, and that's why this event is not triggered. But again, if we change it to open and save it, let's refresh. Now the event is triggered. So shadow DOM is a very powerful way by which we can create hidden DOM trees in our regular DOM. So this is the first way to create a shadow DOM. There is another way to create a shadow DOM using JavaScript as well. So let me show you. So we can comment this. Let's comment this, and we can have a div here, and we want to add shadow DOM under this library class using JavaScript. Let's add a script tag here. Documented query selector, and here we have to add dot library we have to use attach shadow method. Let's create span element. This is a new span added from JavaScript shadow dot append child span. Let's save it, and if we refresh it, and here we can see this new span appeared. And if we see in the DOM, under the library class, we can see this shadow DOM appeared, which we have created using JavaScript. So this is the second way by which you can create shadow DOM.